Hey, I am Connor Nielsen of C.S.Reviews. You know what I really love? A good movie. Now, if you're reading the title, don't be alarmed. I'm not stupid. I know that Stanley Kubrick's The Shining did come out in 1980, not 1977. This is C.S. Reviews, not C.S. Movie Reviews. And isn't this a little weird because this is the same spot that I was in when I first did my first ever review, Toy Story 3. Well, that was such a terrible review, wasn't it? And what's even stranger is I'm wearing the same shirt and the same hat that I've always kind of worn. But this is also going to be the first place of my first, no, this is going to be the place of my first book review. Yes, Stephen King's The Shining. Got it for my birthday and I read through it. I'm not like one of those speed readers that's embarrassed if they don't read this in like 2 weeks. I just read it whenever I felt like it, and got it done in about a month and a week, I guess. A little over a month and a week, but oh well. Yeah, this came out in 1977, and it's Stephen King's The Shining, and thanks to my movie journal, well, it says movie journal, thoughts, etc., #1. Well, I figured, it's just a review book, it's not just strictly movies, but, yes, The Shining, 1977. Author Stephen King, and the characters are Jack Torrance, Danny Torrance, and Wendy Torrance. The story is Jack Torrance, a reformed alcoholic, trying to get his life put back together after breaking his 3-year-old son's arm and losing his job because he lost his temper. He's trying to get his life back together, and he goes to a job interview and gets the job. He, Wendy, and his 5-year-old son Danny head up to, they live in Boulder, because they were in Vermont, and then because he lost his job, they had to move to Boulder, Colorado. And then he got this job at the Overlook, which is over in the mountains, really high up in the mountains, really isolated from the rest of the world. The Overlook Hotel, it's a very old hotel, and, well, he's the winter caretaker there when because it's the winter, it's awful winters up in the mountains, so they need a winter caretaker, and they're not open during the winter. So they go up there and they isolate themselves from the rest of the world, so he can get some money, and they can finally bond together because they're in a terrible situation in the beginning of the book. And now, before I'd like to say anything, I would like to say this is my very first Stephen King novel that I read. I read one of his short stories, The Boogeyman, out of The Night Shift, or at least it was read to me when I was camping one time. I thought that The Boogeyman, when I was little, I didn't think of it much because I was only half listening to it, but I read it again about 2 months ago. Man, that is weird. Read that. Go to Barnes & Noble or something. That's where I read the first 2 chapters out of this at Barnes & Noble. And I liked it a lot, and I decided to buy it. At least I put it on my birthday list, and and my grandparents bought it for me, and yeah. But read the Boogeyman. It's really creepy. I like to say that this is a very, very, very good book. It was really, in some points, it was really, really, really scary. Some pros about it was, I loved how disturbing this was, and I loved the pacing. You really sympathize with these characters, especially Jack, through all of these hard times that he has gone through, and you learn about Wendy's past and Jack's past and how they're in this situation, and the pacing is good, and the character development is amazing. I loved how disturbing it was at some points. and the description, like all Stephen King novels. Well, I read a little bit of Insomnia last school year, but I had to give it back to the school library because it was really overdue. But I'm starting to read Pet Sematary now, but the description is really good. It's also in Boogeyman. The description's really good, and the writing is phenomenal because, of course, it's Stephen King. And I love how Jack just spirals slowly, and then he starts to go quicker and quicker and quicker, and it's like like when you at like OMSI or something. Well, I live in Oregon, but OMSI is a science museum, and they have these things where you put the coin in and it goes down, and it starts slow, and it goes down like that very quick, like a coin funnel. But it's like that. He just goes down this funnel of insanity, and he just loses it. Some cons was this book is divided into 5 parts. First one is prefatory manners. Second part is closing day. Third part's the wasp's nest. Fourth part is snowbound, and the 5th part is matters of life and death. This book is divided into 5 parts, like I said, and one of the cons is I did not like Danny in the 5th part. The reason is because he is 5 years old. He got his arm broken when he was 3, but now he's 5. But I know that he has The Shining, which is he can read people's thoughts, and this guy named Tony, who you never see until the end, he shows him these things that happen, and they started off good, but now they're like terrifying. But in the 5th part, I mean, I have a 6-year-old brother, and I kind of relate to my little brother Levi as Danny. But I mean, come on. In the climax, I know they explained that he's a little too smart for a 5-year-old, but I mean, come on. It's like if he was 10 years old, maybe. I mean that's very bold for a 10-year-old, what he's doing in the 5th part of this. But he's 5 years old! And I did get the dose of the over-the-top Stephen King. I just about said Steven Spielberg. I got the dose of the over-the-top Stephen King climax. It's very realistic, and they throw in all these, like, absurd things. Well, not absurd, but like ghosts and whatnot into it, and it comes off as very believable. But then the ending comes, and it's just, the climax comes, and it's just a little like, come on, this couldn't happen. I mean, it's very entertaining, and it keeps you reading, but you're like, this couldn't happen. I mean, it's not as realistic as the rest of the book. And also, he uses a roque mallet. If you don't know what roque is, they explain it very well, because I didn't know what roque was, but they do explain it very well. It's like croquet, only it's older and was more popular back then, but croquet is more popular. You play it with a wooden mallet. One side is soft rubber, one side is hardwood, and it has a short short handle. It's a mallet, a roque mallet, and there's a great analogy to schizophrenia, which is really good, or a great metaphor to schizophrenia. And but there's something he tries to go around using a roque mallet as a weapon. What is scary about a roque mallet? Okay, now I have to admit, they do make the roque mallet scary, the way he uses it. But I don't know, because they said that the other caretaker, Grady, killed his family with an axe, and I think they removed the axe. But I can't remember if they put the axe back in or not. But I mean, use the axe, man. I mean, instead of using a roque mallet, use an axe. I mean, it's cooler. I mean, not cooler. It's a better weapon, and you can get the job done quicker with an axe rather than a roque mallet. But that's really the only couple of problems I had with it. I did think that the ending was the epilogue was very, I'm trying to find the right word, melancholy, bittersweet, that's what I mean to say. Very bittersweet, I got the taste of melancholy and joy, but it's definitely very bittersweet. But definitely a great book. I do recommend this to any person who enjoys horror, thriller, a little bit of action, character study, definitely. And it's very good. And what I noticed is I'm also reading Catcher in the Rye for school, but what I'm noticing is in this book, Jack has a shattered life in the beginning and he's trying to put it back together, as opposed to Catcher in the Rye, where this dude has a shattered life and he's trying to make everyone like him, and instead of Jack, who has a shattered life and is wanting to be like everyone else and put his life back together, which I find that very interesting about two different characters. What am I talking about? Anyways, I definitely recommend this to anybody who enjoys horror. It's a Stephen King classic, his third novel after Carrie and Salem's Lot. All in all, I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5 stars, or an 8 out of 10 final score. I am Connor Nielsen of C.S.Reviews, signing out.